freight rate crisis and operational disruption of the supply chain has sent shock waves across the shipping industry, which handle $19 trillion in goods annually. Industry experts are divided on the key issues, and explanation vary from being pandemic induced, carrier cartelization and exploitation induced, canal blockage induced, and demand boom induced. Whatever be the reason, the current shipping crisis is resulting in industry-wide chaos, and this trend of increase in ocean freight rate from 800 to 1200% is likely to continue till the end of 2022. In this episode of Logistically Speaking, I will be sharing the reasons for this crisis. Also joining me today are industry experts to share their views. To understand the how and why of the current shipping crisis, let's first examine how it all began. Number 1, operational disruption. In current scenario, 10% of the total capacity deployed is absorbed by operational disruption arising from delayed sailing and congestion at the port. The month-long delay in LA and China have significantly reduced the total capacity. At this point, no one can know for sure when the cargo will be loaded, when it will sail, and when it will reach the destination. This culminates in uncertainty while bearing higher freight cost. Number 2, consumption boom disruption. With other revenues restricted, the pandemic increased the availability of money in the hands of people, especially in North America and Europe. This led to consumption boom, resulting in a 10 to 14% growth in demand. Even after deployment of all available vessels and even use of breakable vessels, due to the operational disruption and consumption boom, the result was a 24% shortage in capacity. The year 2019 was a poor year for trade, which resulted in reduction in the production of new containers. And in 2020, due to the pandemic, factories shut down and manufacturers extended the delay in production for the first half of the year due to uncertainty. However, the demand skyrocketed and the production of new containers couldn't be made available for circulation. And number 4, container imbalance. The beginning of the pandemic resulted in the cancellation of many ships from March 2020, which resulted in empties rotation or moving empties to the place where they are required for exports. Number 5, congestion at port. Closure of terminal and lack of staff due to ongoing pandemic resulted in massive delays in the handling of vessels.
The terminal closures in Ningbo and Shenzhen due to recent COVID cases in China resulted in massive delays. These ports, which handle more than 30 million TEUs per annum, even if closed for 2 days, can create a huge backlog.
And number 6, lack of capability at ports to handle bigger vessels. Even now, the port of LA and Long Beach are unable to handle big vessels since the infrastructure hasn't been developed to handle an increase in vessel size.
The container carrying capacity of the biggest vessel over the past 50 years has increased by 1,500%, and the last decade had saw this doubling. The carriers focused on bigger vessels for better profitability, but some of the major ports across the world were not upgraded to handle this. This delayed the ship's rotation and the space became more scarce.
Suez Canal, which carries 12% of the world's cargo, was blocked for a week, and the impact of this is still being felt across ports, causing delays and lack of streamlined vessel rotation. And number 8, carrier cartelization. Carriers are going through a period of profitability that has never happened in the history of shipping.
Some carriers have already announced their half-yearly results, and the profit has been more than that of the last 10 years combined together. Since they are the major beneficiaries of the rate increase, definitely they would like this situation to continue for longer periods.
Now, here's why this entire crisis is taking so long to resolve. Number 1 on this list is shipbuilding. The question many have continued to ask is, why can't the carriers order and deploy more ships when the demand and profit are so high? This is because the process of building a ship and getting it operationally ready can take anything between 4 months to 3 years. Also, the current focus would be on finishing previous orders as opposed to delivering new orders. And number 2, low freight origins. Moving export containers from low freight origin is an opportunity cost for carriers due to the time the export process takes. As a result, carriers prefer to avoid accepting export cargo from low freight origins.
The carriers prefer to move empties back rather than moving loaded containers. For example, Nhava Sheva to Shanghai rate is USD 500 for a 40 feet, whereas Shanghai to Nhava Sheva the rate is 9,400. So the carriers prefer to move empties back rather than losing 2 weeks waiting for the export cargo.
Countries like the US export low-value products like waste paper, hay, wheat. The Far East countries mostly export products like rice, lentils, edible oil, and South America exports coffee. With the worldwide increase in freight rate, the export of these commodities will not be viable and will eventually lead to global food price inflation. Governments of countries have been unilaterally implementing policies in an attempt to control the situation. Countries like US have started controlling freight rate increase and monopolizing, whereas in India, ports like Calcutta have placed restrictions like only 100 empties can be moved in a vessel. Exporters are also pushing government agencies which has detained more than 20,000 containers across Indian ports to release these to shipping companies. So, what does the future hold for the shipping industry? As per the industry expert, the surge in ocean freight will continue till the end of 2023. Even the most optimistic estimate see this ending only by 2022. Since it is expected that the global travel and aviation industry will revive to normal level only by 2025, the demand for sea freight will not be impacted even in the case of high value cargo. Number 1 on this list is global inflation. When 85% of global cargo moves by sea, an exponential increase in freight rates threaten to increase the price of cars, coffee, rice, toys, furniture, and nearly everything we consume daily. What we are looking at is price inflation on a global scale. Low value commodities trade is already affected, and the increased freight rate will result in almost full stoppage of low value cargo movement. And number 3, exploring production alternates. The general trade will look at relocation of production to nearby countries rather than from places that require long haul shipping. This can give boost to manufacturing in Eastern Europe, Mexico, Brazil, and India also. The traditional form of just-in-time or JIT will have to give way to bulk order and the need for storage in warehouses for quick distribution. As a result, the concept of dark warehousing is already on the rise. And number 5, climate change and shipping route. Climate change have been leading to the prominence of Arctic route. I had discussed about Arctic route in my season 1 and I will be giving a link to that in this episode. This change will lead to an increase in export from North America and Europe to Japan, Korea and China. This new passage will reduce nautical mile and subsequently reduce the distance to the buyer. What was once a long haul will soon be a short haul. The decade-long dominance of the shipper is nearing its end. With increased awareness, businesses are reworking their models based on supply chain efficiency, freight cost, and overall profitability. Number 7, structured business will thrive. Operationally efficient companies will do well in this scenario. Organizations that manage change well, adapt to evolving circumstances, forecast better, and control operations to avoid delays will emerge as the winner. As per AIS data, 42% of break bulk vessels moves empty. With increased access to real-time data, aggregators and ship owners will have better visibility and capability to be more organized and reduce movement of ships without cargo. Even in container shipping, space utilization will be optimized. Companies would also start introduction of blockchain technology and application. Well, That's where the shipping industry stands as of today. The scenario is rapidly evolving, and I hope this video has given you insight to the fact and causes of the current shipping crisis. Let me know your views as well. See you soon. Thank you.